So, welcome you all to the series of lectures on concepts of entrepreneurship. So, in this lecture, we will discuss on entrepreneurial ecosystem. So, the support system that's required for an entrepreneur to pursue his entrepreneurial journey is something that we would be discussing in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And so, definition. Looking at definition of ecosystem, it is an environment with all its individual or independent constituents and players amidst which a particular activity takes place. So, here, let us understand, let us take the analogy from the ecosystem. So, our natural ecosystem, if you look at the plants, how they survive, so it would require sun, heat, temperature, it would require water, it would require land, and it would require a lot of other supplements, nutrients, all would be required, and that's what facilitates an ecosystem to survive. So, similarly, even for an entrepreneur, the entrepreneurial ecosystem could also be defined. It can be defined as the condition that helps to bring the people together and foster economic prosperity and wealth creation. So, which means for an entrepreneur to do well and exist and survive in the so it requires the ecosystem support is very much required, and these conditions should facilitate that the entrepreneur survives, and this activity of pursuing the entrepreneurship is facilitated through the support of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. There are multiple players who would be facilitating the entrepreneurial journey, and we would be discussing about the major players or factors that contribute to the entrepreneurship, the journey of entrepreneurship, and then the success of entrepreneurs. And then if you look at the players, the major players, of course, there are numerous players who would be facilitating this process of entrepreneurship, and however, we would be discussing who are the major players who contribute to the success of entrepreneur. So, if you look at these players that we have, the government is one, so NGOs are there, family and friends are there, regulatory framework, and which also has which talks about the law of land, and then peers, and then funding agencies and universities. These are the major players. Of course, the list is not exhaustive, you have got other players too, so who would also support the communities. Community is there, or the customers are there, all of them are here, but then these are the major players who would be facilitating the entrepreneurship journey. So, the support of these players is very much required, and it is very vital for an entrepreneur to survive and operate on the market. So, let us discuss each one of them in detail, and to what extent they contribute, and what is the role played by these players. So, if you look at the government, so now let us move on to the first one, that's government. So, the government, so you have the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, which was set up by Government of India in the 2014, but prior to that, even the government was facilitating, and then you have got Ministry of Human Resources, and then you have got Ministry of Education, and then other departments which were promoting the entrepreneurship. There are, apart from these ministries, you also have several other departments which promote the entrepreneurship. The government facilitates loan, or the government also gives them subsidies through various schemes, right? You have got a SIDB, you have got IDBI, you have got SIDBI, or you have got SFCs, and you have got other financial non-banking financial institutions which also promote entrepreneurship. And then you also have DWCRA, right, which also helps these self-help groups. So, and especially it promotes the rural entrepreneurship. So, government facilitates or government promotes the entrepreneurship through various bodies, and then therefore and also government makes several policies so which help the existence or which help the survival of the entrepreneurs. So especially we see that there is a lot of emphasis put by the government after 2014. So now, and even if you look at the apart from the government, so NGOs also play a key role. So the institutions such as CII, Confederation of Indian Industries, is one such NGO which promotes the entrepreneurship. So wherein you see that they promote entrepreneurship across different sectors, even in the rural youth, they provide they promote, and then they encourage the youth to take up the entrepreneurial activities. And then they also have BYST, so Bharati Yuva Shakti Trust, which is also coordinated through CII. And then you have got NEN, National Entrepreneurship Network, which also provides the networking facility for the entrepreneurs. Whoever wishes to enhance their network, so they could get in touch with National Entrepreneurship Network. And then you have got other NGOs such as EDI, so Entrepreneurship Development Institute. So these are the institutes or the non-governmental organizations that foster entrepreneurial spirit among the entrepreneurs. So the role of these NGOs is also very important. And you have other players such as family and friends. So family and friends are often considered a huge support, because they leave strong influence on an individual. Whoever wants to, if an entrepreneur wants to pursue some entrepreneurial activity, so family would have the impact, or the thought process of an individual is strongly influenced by these family and friends. So if a family encourages someone to think beyond job or career, or a regular career, so then it would definitely leave an impact on an individual, and then individual would be encouraged to think about the entrepreneurial journey that he or she wants to pursue. And then also the risk-taking capacity. So if there are people around you, family and friends, are encouraging enough, so if they are encouraging you to take risk, so then your risk-taking capacity would increase. And then this support is something that's the moral support that you want whenever, because if you pursue a normal career, and then if you are pursuing an entrepreneurial activity, typically the risk involved in the entrepreneurial activity would be high, and then therefore if there is no support from the family and friends, then the risk taking capacity would always be less. So, and the moral support matters, so because there would be a lot of times wherein there are a lot of tough times that the entrepreneur is faced with. So therefore during such tough times, it's the family and friends that give moral support. So therefore they are important players in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So if this support is missing, from this end, so the support that we get from other players may not have, or may not help the entrepreneur to succeed. And then apart from the family and friends, you have regulatory bodies, the statutory bodies that we have from the government. So these regulatory bodies structure the economic activities of entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneurs, so how do you set up, what kind of entity that you are setting up, whether you are setting up a proprietorship company, or whether you are establishing a partnership firm, or whether you are establishing a private company or public limited company, so, or a limited liability partnership. So whatever is the business, so this would structure, the regulatory bodies structure would structure the economic activities of these entrepreneurs. So you have got the register of companies, or you have got other bodies such as the IT department, or you have got the science and technology department. So these regulatory bodies would be, or GST council, right? So these are the regulatory bodies that would be structuring. You have to comply with the all the regulations. So right from inception to termination, so you need to adhere to the regulations that are set up by the government. So, and even proliferation of entrepreneurship depends a lot on these bodies. Why do I say that? The ease of doing business, you would have heard about this. So ease of doing business is depends on how soon you give clearances to these entrepreneurs. You see a lot of governments have, central government and even the state governments have come up with a single window process for giving clearances to the startups. So which means the more friendly the regulatory bodies or compliances with the entrepreneurs, so the greater they proliferate, and then they create more employment. So the support from the regulatory bodies is something that's very much required. And then it is also, therefore, it is considered one among the important players of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And then next to this, we have peers, right? Peer groups are the ones who usually we find that whenever you work in an organization, or whenever you study, whenever you pursue your post-graduation or graduation, so you see that these peer groups are there with you. So these are blessed with the same kind of opportunities, challenges and skills. You have got the same skills, and you have got the same skills because you are operating in the same domain, and you also have the same kind of opportunities that you could explore or seize. So therefore, so this these people would always could be source of better network. So which means you share these people are like-minded, and then you have these people have a great compatibility. So therefore, what happens is, so there would be encouragement from these peer groups, so that they share the ideas, the thought process that these people have would be similar. So therefore, so when they start working, so when greater the compatibility, greater the synergetic effect. So therefore, so the role of these peer groups is also something that's more and these people more think on the lines of whatever the entrepreneur thinks, and then they facilitate the entrepreneurial journey. Therefore, we can say that the role of peer groups is also something that's important in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So that helps the survival of the entrepreneur. And funding agencies, coming to funding agencies, so it involves funding agencies. How do you generate funding agencies? Are the one which give you, or which the blood of any company is the finance. So therefore, so which the funding agencies are one, so which give the money, financial resources, which provide the financial resources for the entrepreneur. So it has got two groups. One is a formal group and the informal groups. So it involves both formal groups and informal groups, where informally, which means through a procedure you apply for a loan, and then you get the funding from those formal groups. And informal are mostly, so it does not require any plan to be submitted to them, or documentation may not be much required. So you see, venture capitalists and banks fall in the formal group, wherein the entrepreneur needs to provide them the business plan and then pitch it to them, so that they provide you the funds that are required. And then when it comes to the self, family and friends, so they fall in the informal group. So it does not, most of the times it does not require you all those formalities that needs to be submitted in case of or provided in case of furnished in case of venture capitalist and banks. Venture capitalist and bank, you require all the business plan to be submitted, you require everything in detail out there. But in case of informal, so you may not require, it's mostly from the self, right, from your savings, or the family, they want to support you, or friends, they want to do it. So now you see that crowdsourcing is something that's happening. So this would also be in the informal groups. And then finally you have universities. So universities, nowadays the role of universities, so in fostering the entrepreneurial spirit, and then and encouraging or promoting the entrepreneurship, it has enhanced. And you see that the universities, Ministry of Education especially, has taken many initiatives. All universities and higher education institutions, now they have ICFAI Institutions Innovation Council, and through which the universities are trying to foster entrepreneurial spirit among the student communities. And then student fraternities are encouraged to set up to come up with ideas, as many ideas as possible. And these universities are encouraged to set up the incubators, which means the seed capital that's required for you. So during the process of coming up with ideas, and then once you come up with ideas, if the idea is qualified to and if it is qualified to take it up to the next level, then the support is provided through the incubators, wherein your idea was being nurtured, wherein there would be mentors. So the universities also encourage you to come up with it, and then they provide you the mentors, so that you take it to the next level, the entrepreneurs or the students, right? So they take it to the next level. And so therefore we can say that universities play the role of catalyst. So from once you complete a formal education, then you become the owner of a startup, and this process is something that's facilitated by the university. So therefore I say that universities play a role of catalyst. So these are the so with this we have completed a discussion on major players, so who would impact the entrepreneurial, or who would support the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So if you look at these 7 players who would be supporting. So we have started with the government, and then NGOs, family and friends, and then regulatory bodies, peers, and then peer groups, and then funding agencies, and the universities. So these are the major players who would be supporting the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So the interplay of these players would help the entrepreneur to succeed.